You can turn the keys if you want, but...
If the stream goes down, guys, it's not my fault. I can't hit any keys either, so the score won't be right because I can't set that because I don't have the keyboard in front of me. And I also can't do intros either, so I'll just wing it. To the northwest side of the map, we have the red. Here, player it is, INnoVation. Oh man, I can't even zoom either. What is going on? Oh, I could... Okay, that's the zoom button. This is weird. Alright, and to the southeast side of the map, we have the blue Terran player. It is time. Oh wow, he has these hotkeys set to his side of the mouse. It's so weird. What a guy. Element had to step out for a second. So, oh wow, we got proxy stuff going on here from Time. So we said Time should just be the aggressor. Man, has he listened. He has listened to us guys in the past, into the future, from the future. We'll see if INnoVation can actually... Oh, INnoVation looks to be setting himself up too. He's not being overly greedy, at least not yet. But time will tell. Oh man, it's a player with that name, it always sounds like I'm trying to pun. I'm not. It's just the way English works sometimes, guys. Alright, so it's going to be the two racks, proxy 2 racks play coming out of our Chinese Terran player versus the Bonjour in waiting in INnoVation. INnoVation is, again, I don't mind his position defensively speaking. I mean, he's actually a pretty safe opener here. He'll get this racks out in no time. Flat have his own Reapers out. We'll see if he is able to scout this in time, though. He hasn't sent out a SCV to scout himself, so he does not know what is happening. It's all a surprise to him, as the Reapers are already coming out for time, making their way out double time. In fact, ooh, look at this. So, yeah, I mean, I'm liking this. The factory's already halfway done for INnoVation, and these Reapers just seem to be taking forever to build, though. Like, one's already out. Is he going to start attacking or wait for more to pool up? Because if he greets this Reaper, this could tee INnoVation off. Oh, INnoVation knows now. He sees it. Come on. It just looked like it was coming from a weird place. I don't know how paranoid INnoVation gets in these sort of games, but he must know something's up, especially with the SCV here with him. I think the jig is indeed up, as more Reapers do join the fray here for time, continuing to push forward. Just going to leave his Reaper back at home, wait for the rest of his units, including that Hellion. The Hellions can put out so much damage against these Reapers if they're not too careful, especially if you pull some SCVs to heal said Hellion as well. And this will force time to disengage, force him to throw down some KDA charges in his retreat. At least he did initially, but decides to fully disengage. Now the proxy location has been seen by INnoVation, so there's no secrets left. INnoVation's in a great spot. Just INnoVation opened fairly safe, and it was so perfect. So you got the factory up, you get those Hellions, and that pretty much ends this attack, all things considered. Now, it wasn't the biggest committal to set attack either. He already has a CC on the way, does time. So he was prepared for his transition, should it not do the critical damage he was hoping for. And so he's going to start pumping out his own Hellions here as we speak, I suspect, soon enough. Yeah, it's a reactor, so it's probably going to be Hellions of his own. But now, it's no counterattack coming here from INnoVation. INnoVation's just going to sit back at home himself, dropping that CC. Now, it is significantly behind that of time, though, so there's an advantage here for the Chinese Terran, considering, I mean, look at it, it's almost 3/4 of the way done. And worker count pretty even between the players as well. Slight lead for INnoVation, marginally so. An army supply is scary though, and if INnoVation decides to be, you know, somewhat aggressive, maybe just to deny. So there's an advantage here for the natural base of time, but the army advantage might be able to delay this base from ever landing, or at least landing for quite some time, and thus nullifying the advantage that time has. Now he's just going to probably use it to build more SCVs, turn it into orbital command, drop some mules down in the meantime, so it's not completely useless. But that being said, really good play here from INnoVation, and just to letting his presence be known. Now with the Cyclones out, okay, so assumed it was Hellions. I should have assumed Cyclones, considering that's something that he likes to do here as well, considering against what he saw. Both players going with that Cyclone play. That's largely this game is going to even out by the looks of it here. We already have these bunkers just floating, or barracks rather, floating around just to keep some vision, just in case drops do come in. That's the one way you could die. You have to think about it in a situation like this. You're a little bit in the back foot. You know, you were the aggressor. You didn't get any damage that you really wanted to. You took that risk getting that base as fast as you could as a transition. So you're very vulnerable. Well, that's what these barracks are for, just to, you know, cover yourself from the one way you could lose, which is, you know, drops. And he's more than fine, as we can see on the minimap. There's not a whole lot coming, except for that. What's going on here? Except for that Banshee, of course. But there's already a missile turret up too. So again, time recognizing what are the things that could kill me. That's one of them. Oh no, he's going up this ramp. What is happening? That's not where you're going to go. That's way too much here from INnoVation. Will pull back, thinks better of it here. It does time. Now the Banshee comes in, gets a little bit of work done. One kill only, as these Cyclones will greet it. Will they get it down though? Oh, yes, they get it. Nice snipe there from time. That's a pretty big victory considering that investment that INnoVation had put into said cloaked Banshee. We'll see if he can, so he's trying to break in here, trying to find an opening to punish INnoVation somewhat, but he's not. There he goes, gets a Hellion, it looked like there. Just confirming that there's no third base landed yet, while his own third CC is on the way. Okay, siege tanks now. There's no run-bys even you can do, not in this position. Unless INnoVation moves out and is not siege. So this is a risky proposition. Second Banshee comes in, finding a little bit of opening here. Just out of the range of the missile turret, getting some kills. You can kill some SCVs and units that pop out of the production here as we speak. But the Cyclones are back in, getting the scan down. Can they get it? This time I think they have it. No problem. That's the second Banshee with minimal damage, but it's this big attack coming in from INnoVation that could seal the deal in this game. Oh man, those tanks are getting some pretty good work. Those Cyclones are putting damage, but look at the spread from time. Will he be able to crack this front? He does. Okay, the Cyclones are still alive. Unbelievable. And this Banshee will get away too. No, not a third Banshee. Oh, it falls. Third Banshee going down. This is not meant to be for INnoVation. Here, as most of the Cyclones, wow, look at how low they are. This one has 1 health. This one has 9 health. Unbelievable. Start repairing those bad boys. They earned it this time around. Now remember, we mentioned before that there's a third CC on the way, or at least I mentioned that. It's over here in the front. Jeez. Of course it is. So that's a nice little position here for time. There's INnoVation actually wasn't paying attention if he had his third CC. No, he didn't. Just now building. So if time can take this economic advantage he has and his ability and confidence in defending against what INnoVation has thrown at him. Like, this is another, don't tell me. It's another Banshee, guys. It doesn't stop. This is the one way to INnoVation really wants to try to keep time. He wants to let his presence be known, so keep time on his side of the map. Now, that Cyclone really needs some healing, guy. Like, I mean, does he just want to keep it at 1 health for posterity? I mean, what exactly is the purpose of that? Did he just forget? Or maybe he's just getting to it. There he is. Finally, these SCVs are not going to forget. We'll eventually put that back to work. Now going to land that third CC. I like that he's not wasting any time. Immediately uses the orbital command, send that over. Again, keeping these Cyclones alive is absolutely vital to taking that third base when he is, because now he feels confident that he can actually hold it and deal with run-bys or more Banshees, for example. He's been sending in this barracks for scout to see the composition that INnoVation is affording himself. It's a lot of Billies, some Marauders and tanks, nothing too unconventional. Even sending in a couple Hellions at the front, confirmed that there's no third base landed, and just to see exactly what is going on in the front. It will be siege tanks. He did a couple SCVs too, really annoying, and keeps his Hellions alive for now too, while the rest of his army does push across the map. Now, this is a mech-oriented force coming out of time, whereas INnoVation is going to be the bio player. Oh, this third base is landing here in this location. He could possibly have burst that damaged it down with the amount of Cyclones he has, but now that the army is getting in position here for INnoVation, but does INnoVation actually have enough? These tanks aren't quite yet done, and one finally gets up, but it gets taken out immediately. The Cyclones continue to push forward. More siege tanks where they came from, though, as holding the high ground with this bio force, going to force to be pick up and run away. As I say run away, I mean run into the main base. But there's some Stimbio here that just popped out of their structures, it looks like, and he will be forced to go home. Does time. Oh wow, that was hectic. Close, so really, INnoVation, well played from him in his defense, but now he's doing a counter drop himself. What do we have back at home for our Chinese Terran? Not much. The tank just came out. Might have to siege that bad boy. There he goes. Some Hellbats and Hellions here to help in his defense. Losing some pretty vital structures, including some of his upgrade stuff. And so, his upgrade facilities. And this is just going to dance around with his bio. That's the utility of bio. Its mobility and its ability to harass as he is. And now there's nothing left. There's no army here in location. And if he is going to send his forces, it's just mech. And it's so slow to get into proper position. Now there's his medevacs that were carrying those cyclones from earlier on. Those are his best bet in defense for his buttons. But they're against Marauders, which, well, they do pretty good against most mech units, that is. It will eventually fall, not before a great cost here. We're seeing that reflected in the overall supply. 134 supply to 95, heavily in favor of the Korean Terran, and forcing the lift up in that base as the follow-up attack has continued. Just traditional Marine Marauder tank play coming out of an INnoVation textbook, really, as it just continues on this push. I mean, look at this army. This is just a ragtag crew now. What was once an impressive force has now been relegated to the, to the sadness bit, I guess, of just used parts, I guess, right now, because he's so injured, bruised up, and not exactly the composition he's looking for either. There's a lot of siege tanks, but nothing at all to support them, except for a handful of these Hellbats, which will fall immediately to the stim bio as it continues forward. And that's it. GG's called. INnoVation takes the series 2-1. Okay. Now, I don't know how to switch over to the main view screen.